Welcome back to Briggs on Books, our international talk show where I get to talk to authors from all over the world every day. It's the best job I've ever had, and I'm having a heck of a time at it. Our next guest is in Los Angeles, but we're talking international today, so he's been traveling a bit. We're going to ask him about that. But check out his book, Every Other Weekend, Coming of Age with Two Different Dads. And I think he did this when it wasn't a time where everybody had two dads. Let's see if I can find him. Our guest is author Anthony J. Mohr. Welcome, Anthony.
Hey, great to be here. Thanks for having me on the show.
Before we get too far into your book story and your travel story, I see in the background there's a gavel back there. Why would you have a gavel?
Oh, there are a couple of gavels. I was a Superior Court judge in California,
Wow.
LA County, for 27 years. And actually, I still sit part-time, which judges can do when they retire. So
Nice.
That's why the gavels.
Now, were you appointed by a governor?
Both times. Pete Wilson put me on the municipal court in 1994, and in 1997, Christmas Eve, he elevated me to the Superior Court.
Yeah. I served with Pete Wilson. I was in the legislature when he was governor, so got to hang with him a little bit.
He's a good man.
Good guy, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I want to talk about this book in a moment. And here it is, by the way, Every Other Weekend, a coming of age with two different dads. Before that, though, you said you just got back to Los Angeles. Where were you?
I took a cruise down the west coast of Africa. We started in Portugal, in Lisbon, and we sailed all the way to Cape Town, and I can enumerate, if you want, the 12 ports
Please
of call
do, yes.
visited. We started in Morocco, in Agadir, and out to the Canary Islands, 2 stops there, Lanzarote and Tenerife, then to the Cape Verde Islands, which is now an independent country, and actually doing quite well. I liked it.
Yeah.
Then we sailed over to Senegal, and then from there to the Gambia, which is actually surrounded by Senegal, and around the corner to the Ivory Coast, to Ghana, to Togo, then down the Gulf of Guinea to Sao Tome and Principe, from there to Namibia, and finally to South Africa, Cape Town.
Wow. Now that is, were there any rough waters, by the way?
I'd say about 2 days out of Cape Town, it got a little bumpy, but I wouldn't call it rough. Had we kept going beyond the Cape of Good Hope to Cape of Agulhas, we would have been thrown all over the place, because Agulhas meets the Atlantic Ocean, the Indian Ocean, and the Southern Ocean, and things get messy. I've been to the Cape of Good Hope and seen Agulhas in an earlier trip, and I wouldn't want to sail there, let me tell you.
Yeah, that's kind of a historic trip. I mean, a lot of the early sailing and mapping came out of Portugal, I believe. So
Henry the Navigator, and then Vasco da Gama, and the whole group.
Yeah.
Fabulous trip. I will tell you, Mike, it was fun, but it was more of an education. It was eye-opening to see Africa, especially sub-Saharan Africa, and north of South Africa, and what life is like there. It kind of opens your eyes.
I bet it does. How many days was it in total?
The cruise itself was 24 days.
Oh, 24. Oh, my God.
Yeah, I spent 3 or 4 days in Lisbon and then 3 or 4 days down in Cape Town after the cruise.
Yeah, amazing.
It
That's
was a long
amazing.
time.
I'm glad you got to do that. Now, your book, Every Other Weekend, this is a fascinating tale, and it's true. It's a true story. It's a memoir, you might call it?
It's true.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, basically, when I was a kid, my father was an actor, freelance actor. He played Philip Marlowe on the radio, and then had a little bit of trouble. I see somebody going by us in the background.
That's all right.
Well, she's helping us keep the house going. You know, we just got back. We need it cleaned up a little bit. But in any case, so he was a freelance actor. Had a little trouble adjusting after TV came in, but he did it. He featured and starred in a number of westerns as a guest star. He ultimately met a woman in Sweden when he was filming a TV series, and he left my mother for her.
Now, this had to be in the 50s?
This was 1956.
Okay.
The divorce was in 56. I was 9 years old. And obviously it was traumatic.
Yeah.
So I write about that, and 2 years later, my dad married the girl from Sweden, and my mother had met a guy from California, and they got married. And the marriages were within 4 months of each other.
Oh, my goodness.
So now I have 2 different families, and my mother's second husband was a very conservative, unlike my father, hard-driving businessman, unlike my father.
And now you're about 10 years old by then?
I was 11.
11.
Second marriage. So now it's a question of one weekend with one family, one weekend with the other through high school. And that's the arc of the book. And how did I handle it as best I could to make it short. But that's what the book is all about, living with two different families, trying to adjust. One father, very much conservative business, making business machines. The other father, in the high-living, fun-loving actor. One father, Stan, stepfather, his career is rising. He's getting wealthier and wealthier. My father's career is drifting and drifting and drifting down. He's getting less wealthy and less wealthy as we go on. In fact, his second wife, who was not my favorite person, one time yelled at me, "Don't you realize we're poor?"
Wow.
Well, poverty is relative. After my trip to Africa, I will tell you that we're not poor, but she thought they were.
I mean, one household was quite successful.
Yep.
Now, were you aware at the time that, like, I would imagine you're one of the only kids around product of divorce?
Correct.
Yeah, I remember.
In elementary school, I was the one product of a divorce.
One kid, yeah.
There was one girl in my 6th grade class who I'm still very friendly with. And yeah, there was a divorce in her family as well. And like my parents, her dad was a very well-known Hollywood agent. My dad was a well-known Hollywood actor.
Yeah.
We were always friendly. But other than that, no. In my little group of friends, I was it. I was the Lone Ranger as far as divorce goes.
And of course now, I think half the parents are divorced.
It's no big deal. It's like going steady in high school.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting because that period I'm very familiar with, we're almost the same age, and I bet it reflects a lot of the times in your book, what was going on in the 50s and early 60s and on and on.
Yeah, very true. I tried to bring in the background of Hollywood and LA during that time. I wrote about being on a kids show. I got invited on a kids show thanks to my dad.
Yeah.
I did have a walk-on part in his series, and then a larger part with lines in his series, which I totally flubbed. Convinced me I could not act worth it, you know what. And but then I went to high school in Beverly Hills, and there were many people whose parents were celebrities, although we didn't realize it didn't make a difference. They were so common, and we didn't think, oh, there's Joey Bishop's kid, or there's Lee J. Cobb's daughter. They were just kids we knew and liked and admired for their own talents and sakes.
And by the way, do you name names in the book, like so-and-so's daughter? And
yes.
That's fun.
I do name names.
Now,
there are a couple of places where things get a little bit edgy, and I kept the names out.
Yeah.
But most of the time, I name names.
Well, there's another reason to read the book now. So, excuse me the expression, I don't know the psychological terms, but did you come through it kind of messed up? I mean, obviously you're successful, you're a judge, which not very many people are. You seem to come through okay, but I would imagine there was some effect.
Yeah, I was messed up at the time. From 1956, 57, 58, I was very messed up. I was in tears a lot of weekends when I felt very lonely. I didn't understand what was going on. I sort of felt adrift, a little state of anomie, if you want to be sociological about it. But slowly but surely I adjusted. And the good news is, I think coming from two different families, two different opposite households, makes you a better judge.
Yeah.
I mean, I would always tell anybody who comes from that kind of a background, go to law school and think about getting on the bench.
Yeah.
Because you have to adjust, understand each culture, which is different, one family different than the other. And when you get on the bench, you're looking at different cultures, different practices, and you've got to be tolerant and accepting of that, and try to understand what's going on, and make your decisions with an appreciation of who these people are, where they come from, what they really want, what are their stakes. And most people have only one family unit to think about to move them through that period and prepare them. Having two helps. Yep.
Gave you a very unique perspective from your time. Like we say, there's a lot of people product of divorce. Now, did you have step siblings?
I did on both sides.
On both sides. Wow.
Yeah, my father's second wife had 2 children. They were younger than I, one 4 years, one 6 years. So, when they met, they were almost too young for me to deal with. But later on, we became friendly, and we still are in touch. We're still friends.
Yeah.
On my stepdad's side, he had 2 kids. One, a boy 5 years older than I, and a daughter 2 years younger. And we're still in touch. In fact, tomorrow I'm going over to Scottsdale to spend the holidays with them. My wife and I are going there. So that was a good effect of it. The kids and I are friendly, more than friendly, quite close.
Yeah, amazing that you had that. Now your stepfather, did he have a lot of influence in your life and shape you?
Sure. I mean, from the age of 11 up,
Yeah.
he was very influential. I would want to say he was controlling. I mean that in a good way and in a bad way too, because he tried to be controlling to the day he died at age 96.
That was his personality, no doubt.
He mellowed out as he got older. And when I was in high school, he was the hard-driving businessman. You're going to have to work. Kids shouldn't have so much fun. That's a quote.
Yeah.
Children shouldn't have so much fun, which bothered me. I wanted to have fun. I'm living in Beverly Hills. All my friends are having a blast running around, and it was always sort of a question whether I could join them. Most of the time, my mother ran interference, and I could.
Yeah.
But there were times I couldn't. He said, "You're going to work down at my company. Come down to the plant, run the Xerox machine or the Ozolid machine. Remember an Ozolid machine?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that wasn't the pleasantest thing in the world. He didn't really take vacations, although he loved to sail.
Yeah.
But as he got older, he mellowed out, and it was a much better relationship following college and law school.
Now, do you attribute the college to your stepfather and law school, or were you self-driven for that?
I think I was self-driven.
That's great.
But then, I wanted to do well, and school from 5th grade on. 4th grade, I was not that successful. I was a little bit of a problem because that was the first year of the divorce, and I still have my report card, and my deportment grades went down. I can see that from 3rd grade where they loved me. 4th grade, they weren't so happy with me. But starting in the 5th grade, and especially in the 6th, once my mom was remarried, I used school as the stable center of my world. And my group of friends were quote unquote the nice kids, and I really valued their friendship, and I wanted to do well, and I was able to do it fortunately. So that got me into a good college where I did extremely well, got me into law school, a very good law school, and the rest is history.
Now, by the way, who would read this book? Who would like this book? Who should read this book?
Well, anybody who's gone through a divorce should read it. Anybody who has a divorce in their background, their parents got a divorce, read it. Compare your situation with mine. It may not compare completely, but it would be interesting to see. Anybody who likes old Hollywood, read the book. Because I do write a lot about the TV at the beginning, radio, westerns, the Hollywood Christmas Lane Parade. I was in it twice with my dad, along with his stepsons. I tried to bring up LA as it was back then, which was not only a major city, although it was the weak stepchild for industry. I think only one company or two had a headquarters there. Everything else was kind of a subsidiary. But it was certainly full of fantasy and full of characters and cartoons. It was one of the only places I could think of where people venerated a cartoon character, i.e. a mouse.
It was an amazing time to be there in Hollywood.
And a Chevrolet dealership was named after Felix the cat. A suburb was named after Tarzana. You had restaurants that were with buildings built after cartoons. There was whimsical architecture. Googie architecture was whimsy, and that was very popular with a lot of places like Norm's. A Cadillac dealership was Googie, Casa de Cadillac. Carolina Mines restaurant was Googie. So LA was a very different place from most other cities, if not all other cities.
Maybe other cities have caught up since, but what a magical place and a magical time, and it's all in this book, Every Other Weekend by Anthony J. Mohr. Now I do this right before every interview. I went to Amazon and typed your name in and boom, it popped up. So it's pretty easy to find the book. And
Barnes & Noble, Amazon. I have my own website where you can get it.
And by the way, we have your web address on the screen. If you want to find out more about Anthony J. Mohr, go there. And you can order the book. I always like to order direct from the author if I can.
Yeah, yeah. It'll come from Amazon, but either way, it's just fine.
And by the way, I never order one copy of a book. Go order this book. Click 5 times, order 5 of them. Right now, Anthony, I'm going to people's houses every day for dinner parties and stuff. I always like to take a gift. And this would be a great gift for anyone, I think.
Absolutely. And you know, if somebody, oh, there's my wife in the background. She's very busy packing for our little Arizona.
I know you just got back and now you're leaving again.
I know. You know, welcome to jet lag and
Yeah.
the world of. But you know, if anybody buys the book and wants you to autograph it, send it to me. I'll autograph it and send it back on my own nickel.
Excellent. Oh, that's very nice of you. By the way, Scottsdale, do you drive there?
We're gonna fly.
Gonna fly. Okay, I just didn't know how close that was to LA. So.
It's close. It's about an 8-hour drive, but it's easier to fly, more convenient.
People are always trying to get me to drive to San Diego, and I say, no, it's 6 hours. I'll only fly.
Yeah.
So.
There's my wife again. She's carrying down some stuff. She's a little shy. She's out waiting at us.
She's trying to steal some of your limelight, I think.
I know. She's better looking than I am.
Anthony, we've gone overtime again. I just love talking to you. Any last thoughts about the book, about anything in the world you want to talk about?
Otherwise, yeah, I mean, look, divorce is very common, but one thing my parents never did, which I would advise any parent who divorces and has a child to do, is get the kid into therapy. Even if you don't think the kid needs it, he or she needs it. Get the kid into therapy right away.
They need it regardless. Yeah, I was thinking of giving this book to some people, some newlyweds or people about to have a kid. Maybe they could get some foresight before they mess up their kid.
And not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea, Mike. Thank you.
So in short, anybody could use this book. Thank you, Anthony. I want you to come back all the time. You're an amazing and fascinating guest. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. You be well and happy holidays.
Thank you. And for our viewers, don't go anywhere. We will be back with another author right after this.